Before we begin, a quick favor. If you've been enjoying the podcast, would you consider leaving a review? It really helps others find this space and join us on their own healing journey. And if you haven't already, you can get your free IFS meditations at exploreifs.com. Thanks so much. Today I want to take this episode to address something that's important, that's been on my heart and mind the last couple of weeks, and something I feel I owe you some clarity on. And I want to start by saying this is one of those episodes where I'm asking you to stay with me. Even if something I say early on creates friction, even if a part of you wants to push back or close the tab or whatever you close, I'm asking you to stay because I think we can hold this together. Something genuinely useful might open up. Racism is real. White supremacy is destructive. Systems and policies that dehumanize people, including many aspects of immigration enforcement in the United States right now. And I realize that there are people listening around the world too. But here, that enforcement caused profound, documented, devastating harm to real human beings. And that's not abstract. That is the lived reality of millions of people. Children separated from parents, families torn apart, communities living in fear, people denied dignity at every turn. That deserves to be named clearly, not softened, not hedged, not buried in clinical language. So I'm naming it. Now, there's something I've said in this podcast that I want to make sure is landing the way I intend it. When I say all people matter, I'm sometimes heard as saying that all beliefs are equal, or that harmful behavior deserves a pass, or that people who are being harmed should extend some kind of spiritual grace to the people harming them. I don't believe any of that. And if anything I've said has sounded that way, I care about that. Clarity matters, and you deserve clarity from me. So let me say exactly what I mean and what I don't mean when I bring IFS into conversations about racism, harm, and human dignity. In internal family systems, one of the foundational principles is this: every part of a person has a positive intention, even when its behavior is harmful. What that means is that no human being is reducible to the worst belief or behavior their parts are currently expressing. It does not mean the belief is acceptable. It does not mean the behavior is excusable. It does not mean the harm disappears or becomes less real. It means something more specific, and I think more radical. We refuse to dehumanize people. Even as we firmly confront and oppose harmful behavior and oppressive systems. We have a phrase in IFS that I keep coming back to. All parts are welcome. All behaviors are not. That distinction is everything. Welcoming a part does not mean approving of what it does. Understanding where a belief comes from does not mean agreeing with it. Believing someone is fully human does not mean excusing the harm they cause. These are not contradictions. They are held together in tension on purpose, because that tension is where real change becomes possible. Let me slow down here, because I think this is the place where people understandably push back. When someone's parts are expressing racism, cruelty, or active support for policies that strip dignity from vulnerable people, the impact is not theoretical. People get hurt, families suffer, lives are altered. Anger in response to that harm is not a problem to be managed. It makes complete sense. Protective parts rise up for very good reasons. IFS does not ask us to override our anger. It does not ask us to become passive in the face of injustice. It doesn't ask us to sit quietly while systems grind people down. What IFS asks is something different, something harder. It asks, is dehumanization ever a path toward healing? Think about that question for a moment. When we exile a part inside ourselves, tell it it's disgusting, that it has no place here, that we want nothing to do with it, what happens? That part doesn't disappear. It goes underground. It hardens, it waits, and often, eventually, it erupts in ways we didn't choose and can't control. The same thing happens in families, in communities, in cultures, when entire groups of people are treated as irredeemable, as so broken, so wrong, so beyond the pale that they don't deserve to be understood. We are not dismantling the conditions that created the harm. We're mirroring them. Dehumanization breeds more dehumanization. Exile breeds more exile. This is not a spiritual opinion. This is something we see again and again in history, in systems, in the coaching or therapy room. Now, I want to be very direct about what I'm not saying. I am not saying we should tolerate harmful behavior. I am not saying people who are being harmed bear any responsibility for the healing of the people harming them. I'm not saying we shouldn't draw hard lines, set firm boundaries, or dismantle systems that cause damage. We should, we must. All parts are welcome is a principle about what happens inside a system, whether that system is a person, a relationship, a family, or a culture. It means we don't exile the parts we find uncomfortable. We get curious about them. We try to understand what they're carrying and why. All behaviors are not welcome is the other half of that same principle. It means we name harm clearly. We refuse to participate in it. We work actively against it. Both are true at the same time. That's not a comfortable place to stand, but it's the place I believe we need to stand. Now, I want to speak for a moment to those of you for whom this isn't abstract. If you are a person of color, an immigrant, someone whose life has been directly shaped by the systems we're talking about, this framework might feel like a lot to ask. It might feel like I'm asking you to do emotional labor for the people who've caused you harm. And I want to say clearly, I'm not. IFS does not ask the harmed to heal the harmful. That is not your burden to carry. What I'm speaking to is something different. I'm speaking to those of us who work in healing spaces, coaches, practitioners, therapists, chaplains, educators, about how we understand the humans who come to us. And I'm speaking to all of us about how we engage the political and cultural moment we're in. For those of us with privilege, and I include myself here as a white, cisgender male who's benefited in ways I'm still learning to see, this work requires ongoing, honest self-examination. And it's not finished. It's not comfortable. It's not optional. I also want to name something about why this gets complicated, even misunderstood. There's a thing called spiritual bypassing. It's when we use spiritual or psychological frameworks to avoid facing hard realities, to smooth over injustice, to make things feel more peaceful than they actually are. IFS can be used that way. I've seen it. And I want to be clear. That is not what I'm calling us into. What I'm calling us into is the harder path, the one that holds moral clarity and human dignity at exactly the same time. Racism is wrong. White supremacy is wrong. Harmful policies must be challenged and changed. And no human being is only their worst parts. Both of those things are true. And the work is learning to live inside both of them without collapsing into either one. Here's a question I sit with often. Can we oppose harmful systems fiercely while refusing to dehumanize the humans caught inside them? I believe we can. I believe we have to. Not because it's easier. It's not. Not because it lets anyone off the hook. It doesn't. But because the alternative, a world sorted into the redeemable and the irredeemable, the ones who matter and the ones who don't, that world has a name. And we've seen what it does. The alternative to exile is not naivety. It's not niceness. It's not spiritual bypassing. It is a commitment to ending cycles of harm rather than reinforcing them. It's the long, hard, specific work of transforming the conditions that create harm in the first place. This is what I mean when I say this is self-leadership. Self in IFS is not passive. Self has clarity. It has boundaries. It can say hard things. It can hold ground. And self refuses to dehumanize. Not because dehumanization feels bad, but because it doesn't work. Because it is not, in the end, how healing happens. So let me close with what I want you to take from this episode. All parts are welcome. That means every human being carries something worth understanding, even when what they're expressing causes harm. All behaviors are not welcome. That means we name harm clearly, we set limits, and we work against systems of oppression with everything we have. All people matter, not conditionally, not only when they agree with us, not only when they've done enough work or said the right things. And harm must be named and confronted, not softened, not explained away. Clearly, directly, consistently, holding all of that at once. That is the work. It is nuanced. It is uncomfortable. It will sometimes be misunderstood. And it asks something real of us, especially those of us who carry privilege and power. But I believe it, and I'm committed to practicing it here with you in this space. You are not alone. You're beloved. And a drop of self, just a drop, is enough to begin. That wraps up another episode of IFS Meditations and Insights. If today's episode was meaningful to you, please follow, subscribe, and share with someone who might need it. A positive review helps more people find this healing work. Don't forget, you can get your free IFS meditations at exploreifs.com. And until our next session, be gentle with yourself.